In this video, I'm going to be explaining and demonstrating how a PDL or power divider lockout works in a truck. I've seen a few videos on YouTube of people explaining the theory. This is how it actually works. You can actually see in practice what it actually looks like. Okay, so first of all, on this side, we'd have the transmission. The yoke would be splined onto here, and this would go straight from the transmission. This here is a one-piece unit, at least from this part. Then there's this half here which comes out if you remove these bolts. So here's what I'm talking to you about. So, and then over here, this gear would mesh in with these gears here. So actually this one is that gear down there, that one that's damaged. So these are the splines compatible with this one. So I'm actually replacing that damaged one. This one is going to go into that one's place right there. And inside here, see these shafts, which are these here, is a differential, just like a car differential. So there's two big gears on each side, and sandwiched between them are smaller gears. In this case, there are four. They're not present here because they got completely obliterated, became powder. They became little bits of flaking steel. And then down from these gears, which are splined to that gear, this goes to the front differential. And then the rear differential, the shaft comes in through here, through this hole. It goes through here and then to the end, into this side, into this big gear. So remember, there's two big gears, one over here, and this way we got the smaller gears that mesh with the big gears. As you can see inside there, I can move the front. It's hard to do it with one hand. And the rear one turns in the opposite direction, as you can see. Well, this thing doesn't move. Here are the ideally I'd disassemble this, but you can kind of get the idea. And as you can see from the inside there, the one in the back is smaller. The splines are smaller diameter. This one's a larger diameter. So what happens is these splines spline onto these splines here, right? So basically this gear, this big gear, which then goes on to the other gear, and then to the differential, the front differential, it's splined onto one of the big gears. And then on the back, or on the front, if you will, towards the transmission, over here, there's the other big gear, which is like that one. I think that was that's the smallest one. That's the one in the back. That one is splined through the shaft of the rear differential. So just for demonstration, I'm use this hammer here. Pretend that's the shaft. Goes through there, into these splines, and into the smaller splines in the back. Just like that, so that you get a good idea of what I'm talking about. So right here is where the PDL is going to go. That side's to the transmission. This is the front differential. And over there, we have the rear differential. See the shaft sticks out through here. So basically, what this means is the big gear on this side goes to the rear differential, and this big gear on this side, towards the back, goes to the front differential. Now this, in a situation where both of them are moving at the same speed. Now what happens is, as you can see with me turning the gears, that big gear by hand, like I was doing, the rear one turns at a different speed. So what happens is, if one of the differentials is stuck in the mud and it's starting to spin faster than the other one, then that happens like what I just did with my hands happens here in just higher RPM. So then just this moves, but the inside parts don't, and the truck is stuck. Okay, so in a normal situation where the truck is on asphalt, when it's not slipping, these two big gears, they're in mesh there, they're spinning together, and both differentials are spinning. And that's kind of one of the big misconceptions that I've heard, is that some guys would say that only one of the differentials spins, or no, even if you're when you activate the PDL, then both of them turn. And that's not the case, at least not in a normal situation. In a normal situation, the PDL is turning both differentials. That's why there's two differentials. And as you can see from my explanation, both of them are normally turning when everything is normal. Then when you have a slip, they start turning at different speeds, and that's when this here starts to happen. So let's say this is trying to turn, but then only one of them turns, then and that's when you have your slip. Okay, and then, so now moving forward, you can see these splines on the outside. Now these splines, they're splined directly onto this housing here. So you can kind of see from this one here. Which means it doesn't go through the gears of the differential. It's splined. It's connected directly to the drive shaft. So as long as the drive shaft is spinning, then this one is spinning. And then on the gears, on this big gear here for the front differential, we've got the matching gears for this one. I'm just going to go ahead and add the shift collar. And then I'm going to connect these splines here. So before I continue the explanation here, I'm just going to give a quick basic concept about the differential. So with the differential, the wheels only spin if they're both, let's say in a car for example, if both of them are at the same speed at a given time. Which I know that in a curve, then they turn at different speeds, but they still both have contact. And the car still has inertia to move. But what happens is, if you just get one of the wheels stuck in the mud, let's say one of the wheels is on nice solid ground and the other wheel is on the mud, then that's all it takes for the drive shaft to keep spinning, and then it just spins that one wheel that has no resistance because it's on the mud, and that's when you're stuck. So in the truck, it's the same thing, but you have four wheels. But in a normal circumstance, you just have to get one of them stuck for this to happen. Let me see if that makes sense. And yes, basically you just need one differential stuck, and the differential on the truck is the same as the car. So you just need one tire getting stuck for this to happen. So for you to be stuck. So when you're stuck, this whole thing is spinning, but inside it's just the gears are spinning. See, these gears, the small gears, they don't normally spin. They just close, they lock the two big gears together. But when one differential starts turning at a different speed relative to the other one, then they start spinning, and then just one of the drive shafts spins, and that's the drive shaft that's stuck in the mud, but the truck doesn't move because that differential, even though the drive shaft on that differential is moving, the tire is stuck. It's the tire is spinning, but the truck's not moving because it's on the mud. So what normally would happen in that situation where you're stuck is this. So either the front or the rear differential would be moving. So in this case, I'm spinning the gear for the front differential. Sorry, can't demonstrate the rear differential because that would be the shaft that sticks out through here. Or you'd have, let's say this is the shaft, then this differential would not be moving. This differential would be stopped, and then this one would be moving from that gear on the front. And this one is spinning from the gear in the back. So then you engage your PDL, and this is what happens. Now, what I will say is, if under normal circumstances both differentials are moving, why do we really need to have this locking mechanism here, the PDL? Why not just have it straight like that, just spline directly? This differential always moves, and the rear differential also always moves. Why do we have that, right? Probably ask. And I think the reason being is for curves. So when the truck is turning, this small differential allows the two speed differentials to turn at different speeds. So what happens is it's almost like you're stuck in the mud. The same thing is happening, but you're still turning because you still have traction on both wheels. Whereas when you're in the mud, you just lose complete traction on one of the wheels, right? So that's why you can't really have them splined. You can't have the PDL engaged on curves. So it's the same concept as what I was saying about the trucks with the locking differentials that move just like a tank. You don't want to have a truck moving like a tank. If it's straight, that's fine. But if it starts turning, then all the force goes to one wheel. And that's what happens in a curve. You have one wheel turning faster than the other, so more torque is being applied to that wheel. And if you're stuck in the mud and you have too much torque to one wheel, then you could damage something, right? But if it's straight, then the torque is distributed evenly, 50% to each wheel. Even though one wheel is doing nothing, the other one is still getting the 50%, right, of the torque. Whereas if you were on a curve, then the force not used by one wheel would go to the other if you have the locking system engaged, right? So I know it's been a long video, but I hope this helps, and it definitely helps identify what's happening. So with this explanation, if the PDL is broken, if there's a problem with the PDL, be it inside the gears or over here for somehow. Holy crap, there's a little mouse right there. So if in my case what was happening is the truck was only moving when I engaged it in the PDL. So if it's not moving at all, that means the problem is in the PDL, because if you had a problem in one of the differentials, you'd still have one of the differentials spinning. But I think I already explained that in another video, so I'm not going to go over it too much. But if the truck doesn't move at all under normal circumstances, and then it moves when you engage the PDL, that means the problem is in the PDL and not an axle or something like that. So if you were to break an axle, things would be different, and I explained that in another video. But all right, I hope this helps, and yeah, have a nice day.